Tools to Live By, presented by VayerWatches.com, the ultimate tool. Functional,
Mine.
reliable. These things are super durable. Mine looks brand new. I have smashed it into corners of furniture and walls. I've taken it in the ocean. It still looks brand new.
I wear mine every time I surf now. It's part of my surf getting ready to surf routine is Veyer. Make sure I used to always take my watch off. That was part of it. Now I make sure my watch is on. Veyer watch.
Yeah, it's speaking of durability, it's because they use the best quality materials, surgical grade stainless steel, sapphire crystal, proven movements that other expensive watch brands use to make their watches function. It's just way cheaper. It's great materials assembled in the USA. Veyer is spelled Vaer, VayerWatches.com. Listener chimes in for advice, emails. Um, the subject line for the email was uh, I don't have it in front of me, but something about like how much time and effort do you put into becoming a local?
Mm,
Like what defines a local
good
essentially?
question.
And the way that this story unfolds blew my mind in ways that only Rob Deerdick has. Dear David and Chaz, thanks for being willing to give some airtime to this challenging situation. Whilst I wish to remain anonymous, I can say that I proudly self identify as the fan that sparked the Silence of the Lambs parody of Elo's skin swap with poor scaredy cat Felipe. At the time, it was, to my mind, one of the most hilarious snowball effect, pan global social media comedic collaborations I've ever been privileged to be a part of. A single comment online of, it puts the lotion in the bucket, was amplified into hours of chuckles. Thanks, Chaz, the Beach Grit community, and Surf Splendor for building the Giggle Palace. Royalty to a man. Geez, I miss Elo. Anyways, down to business. Here's the question. To what length is it acceptable to go to self identify as a local? Picture this scene. You're surfing your local spot when a fella who also surfs it from time to time paddles past and explains that he's written and published a book. What about, you ask? My surfing journey, he replies. Oh, really? Yeah. Confusion reigns. Hours later, the locals' WhatsApp group comes alive with chatter about this book. Who's in it? Why did he write it? What is it about exactly? Who is he again? Pages are shared from the book, forwarded, banter escalates, more questions are asked than answered. Side note, there is more than one of these locals' WhatsApp groups due to a historical situation involving treachery and paranoia, which led to the creation of a splinter local WhatsApp group populated by some, but not all of the members of the old one, circles within circles, personalities within personalities, many of which are disordered. Anyways, are you in the book? Am I in the book? On it rumbles and so on. So here's the quandary. If when a local is explaining this story about the self-publishing surfer to another local, and that local has to ask, what was his name? Or what does he look like? While the other locals are doing the explaining, have to thoroughly describe him to elicit recognition. Well, is he really a local at that point? But in this book, he self-identifies as one, and I quote, that winter, I made it my mission to surf every big swell that blew in from the Southern Ocean, and I reckon my performance was beyond anything I had achieved before. Over the past 5 years, X has become my home break. The main reason I think that of X as my home break is because of the surfers I see out there all the time. For the first time in my surfing life, I feel part of a tight-knit group of locals. I know their names and I have learned a little about each of one of them from the short chats that we have in the water, end quote. So this begs the question, if it is written, printed, and published, does that make it true? Chaz may have the answer to that one. And possibly more important, what is a quote local anyway? Where is the line drawn? When do you cross over from outside the circle to looking in to inside the circle looking out? Is it a process of osmosis, or is there a ceremony required? Is it a membership on a WhatsApp group that counts? If so, which one? Or is it simply a matter of good old fashioned self massage of one's own identity. I'm not really sure any of us know, but I know two people who can surely thrash it out and come to an unsatisfactory non conclusion on our behalf. Work, anonymous in South Africa.
He came to the right place, David Lee Scales.
I think he did.
Uh, yeah, you can, I mean, local, being a local, I don't know that I've ever really thought about this. I think, what is it? I feel there's an analogy, or it's analogous to something of, once you say you are, then you're not, right? Like,
Mm,
it is being a local somewhere, everybody else has to know it. It's not something that you can, dub yourself. Though I guess if you write a book about it, because on one hand you have truth, on the other hand, or on one hand, I guess you have the way things are. The other hand, you have the way things, or the way you want things to be. And we can get into Joe Dispenza or manifestation or whatever. What if this guy is just manifesting? He says, if I write a book about it, if I talk about it, if I say it, then thus I will be. And who's there to argue? Like, I got to give this guy a lot of credit for, maybe he's the local now. Maybe it was all sitting there and everybody was too, like, living in the old way of, like, a local when you see it, kind of thing, right? This guy's saying, well, that's too amorphous for me. I'm just going to claim I'm a local now.
well, I don't understand why anybody wants to identify as a local, anyways. Like, why is that a badge of honor?
Being a local because you're the local. I mean, if that's what you're,
Who gives a crap? You know what I mean? Like, I guess you want, maybe there's a cool kid group at the beach and you want to be a part of that cool kid group and those people are there the most, but I don't understand the word local being the
a badge of honor.
incentive. Yeah.
But I see, like, I think a lot of these guys that I see surfing the same spot day in and day out, like, I am not there day in and day out, but when I am there, I see them. And so I assume, okay, this is like the local crew, right? But I feel like a few of them, the way they interact with each other, you realize that this is the apex of their life, right? This is being a local out here. And not that they're, flexing it hard or anything like that, the ones I see, but you could just, it's, to me, clear that this is the best thing going for them, right? Like, this is better than whatever work they have. This is better than whatever kind of family life or anything else. This is peak. This is the peak of their life right
This
here,
gets the
is
most time in their day. This,
exactly.
yeah,
And they're not being jerks about it. It just,
it
by
is their
virtue
life.
of where they're spending their time and energy, this is it. It's being out here at this break. Thus, being a local means a bunch to them, even if they don't state that being a local means a bunch to them.
Well, somebody, Toby Honk or one of those Instagram accounts, somebody makes
Toby
jokes
Honk's a
on.
funny one.
It is, yeah. Um, Posted something yesterday about the idea that, like, I forget where the joke exactly lied, but the idea was, if you get up and go to the beach in if you have the luxury of getting up and going to the beach and surfing in the morning, that is the ultimate luxury in life. Like, if you don't have any circumstances that require you to be somewhere in the morning as your first matter of priority, then you've kind of achieved it. And that could be because you live in an apartment and your expenses are so low that you haven't achieved anything else and your schedule has freedom in it. Or it could be that you've, bought a compound in Kauai and you're just gonna now you've checked out of all of your other responsibilities. But if that is what you're doing, regardless, that is the ultimate luxury in life. And so maybe this person writing a book, by the way, it's in print, it's published, you can get it on Amazon. I found it, or he sent it to me,
What's the
but
what's the title?
I'd have to look it up. He wanted to remain nameless. He was
Okay,
said multiple times, so I don't know if he wants me to leave the book nameless too.
let's just
But
let's just assume.
yeah, but maybe that is kind of the whole point of this writing a book about becoming a local, is getting to the point in your life where you can spend your mornings doing something and spend so much time doing this leisure luxury activity that you are then the pinnacle of the people who do that thing.
Well, here's like expanding this slightly further in a literary way. Uh, isn't this sort of, and let's be honest, he won a Pulitzer Prize for it, but isn't this sort of what Finnegan did?
His wasn't about being a local though.
But it's about being it's the Barbarian Days, a surfing life. It is
Yeah.
about being the like pinnacle surfer. Like about it's like I am the world's local. I am the like so good and so dedicated to this thing that I am writing a book about it, my surfing life. And this thing is going to win Pulitzer Prizes. It's going to be the best-selling surf book ever about my surfing life.
It's not entirely different. The question that this guy has, I don't know if it's specific. The idea of like being associated with one spot specifically is a
Yeah.
weird thing. Like that, the Finnegan thing, I can relate to more, and I could see the all the virtues inherent in traveling the world and doing this thing that you love, and you know, being participating in all these cultures and having all those experiences. But the idea of going to the exact same spot every day, just to claim it as your own and being obsessed and then writing a book about that journey to do that it's a very weird thing. Like I've never wanted to call myself a local. I've never once claimed local status anywhere. Even if I've surfed a spot, the spots that I've surfed the most in my life, I still don't identify myself as a local in those lineups. You know what I
But
mean? Like it's a
sure,
weird
but
draw.
I hear you, but again, I'll totally give it to the guy. Not only manifesting, like really putting it out there, not saying like, hey, you know it when you see it. Nope, I'm gonna claim it. A, B, a very achievable goal. Like
That's true.
any of us, like how many goals do you have that is, let's be honest, like and dream big, shoot for the moon, hit the stars, whatever, all of those. I'm all about big dreams, right? How many big dreams does anybody actually achieve? Which is again, nothing. I can only do big dreams. But wouldn't your life be happier if you set a goal? I'm going to be the a local at X. I didn't grow up there, but I, by virtue of, which begs another question, I suppose. What is the amount of time that one must put in to be a local? Are you like, is it every day for 2 years? Is it every day for 6 months? Is it every other day for 5 years, right? Like, there's a certain amount of time put in where, like, I think that it is, yes, you are a local. Like, and I think to our dear listener with the quandary, his not that he had beef with it, but his question was, this guy is not actually surfing enough. It's not
Right.
like it's I have to describe him to people. If he
Right.
didn't have to describe the guy, if they're like, oh, Joe wrote a book about being a local out here, oh yeah, sweet, or kooky or whatever.
Yeah.
But his thing is he has to describe it. So that guy is not actually putting the time in, right?
Right.
Whereas our dear listener clearly doesn't put this out here, but in the subtext is the local, right? He's part of two. Is he part of two WhatsApp groups? A schism?
Apparently. Apparently.
He's part of, I mean, if you're part of a WhatsApp group, of a break, then you automatically, like, I think that makes you a local right away. So if the author of book is clearly not a part of this WhatsApp group, right? Because if they're talking about him and sharing pages of the book in the WhatsApp app group. So if this guy self-identify local is not part of the WhatsApp group, then you're not a local, actually, even if you
But
wrote a book about being one.
I've never even known of a WhatsApp group of locals existing prior. That was the other part of this story. I'm like, I don't want to talk to any of you guys once we leave the beach. I don't even want to talk to you while we're at the beach.
I really love though that the schism
I
WhatsApp
know.
group that has some of the members but not all the members.
We couldn't invite Joe because he was really, whatever. Um, I think I identified a mathematical equation for this that
What is it?
we can apply anywhere in the world, regardless of how many people are in the lineup. If you are in the 10% of people that are there more, surfing more than the other 90%, you're a local.
Uh,
So of all the
over how
people,
long though? Over what time period? A year? Six
right?
months?
No, it's got to be way more than that. I'm saying 2 years.
2 years. So 2 years is the minimum. So if you were in the 10% over 2 years, then you get to go to Shakey's Pizza and they have a little ceremony where you get your local certificate.
and you get invited into the WhatsApp group.
Yeah.
But that also means, depending on how many people are coming and going in that 2 years, that somebody is probably going to get shuffled out of the WhatsApp group.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
That's where the
I
schisms
like it.
happen.
See, he thought we were going to come with some wishy-washy answer, but we came with a firm 2 years, 10%. It is like even rolls off the tongue. 2 years, 10%, Shakey's Pizza, certificate, WhatsApp group invitation, local.
Exactly. And if there isn't a Shakey's Pizza near you, you can use another
You
chain
can,
pizza joint.
but it has to be a chain, and it has to have a real crappy arcade. Speaking of, I got a funny story for you. Re Round Table Pizza, I guess is what this one story is.
Wow.
So daughter's birthday was yesterday, turned the big 11. As happens with birthdays after Christmas, on a Tuesday, like everybody's back in school, it's kind of a bummer. So of course you do the slumber party birthday thing over the weekend. So over the weekend, uh, with her buddies. She wanted to go to trampoline park, whatever, Sky Zone, whatever. Have you taken Austin to a trampoline park yet? This is
He's
in your
about
near
ready.
future.
He's really
Yeah,
into jumping right now. So yeah,
yeah.
I think we need to go.
This is in your near future. But so trampoline park, and then one of her buddies had convinced her that Round Table had a super sick arcade. The Round Table, I didn't even know where the Round Table was. So lo and behold, it's around the corner. I was like, wow, okay, let's go. Round Table Pizza it is then. So went to Round Table. It did not have a sick arcade, but sick enough for them, I guess. It had one of the claw machines, a pinball machine, like a couple crappy things. But the Round Table Pizza was packed to the gills, packed to the gills with migrant day laborers. Like I've never seen more Guatemalan men or like super Southern Mexicans, only
Hmm.
men. Like all of this, I mean, they were clearly here working, but every table packed. They all had pizzas, they all had wings, they were all sitting around having a good old time. Like
Wow.
hundreds
Did
of
you say it
migrant
was
laborers.
midday or
No, it
dinner?
was night. It was dinner.
Interesting.
Yeah, it was. I never would have thought it. I never would have thought. Well, I found the hangout. It's pretty cool.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Yeah. So there's a Sizzler near us.
yeah.
And every time I drive by, I'm like,
Who's there?
how does
Yeah.
Sizzler stay in business? Like, what would ever compel you to go to Sizzler, right? But then I look inside and it's pretty busy all the
Packed,
time.
popping. Yeah,
So I'm curious now to go in and figure out what part of society is dining
goes.
there. And like, so does Roundtable um market to that demographic specifically?
It might.
Because I've never seen their advertisements.
No, it
And
might. I mean, but like stumbling in, and exactly. If you went to the Sizzler, I mean, I remember as a kid, Sizzler was the peak of luxury. I went to Sizzler for my graduation dinner, right? Like Sizzler was as fancy as I could imagine anyone ever being. Sizzler. Like
yeah,
that was how I grew up, like where that was, peak. Not that I grew up poor, but that just is like so I would imagine there is that segment of society still where Sizzler is still that's a steakhouse, man. You're going to a
I know.
steakhouse.
Well, see, I didn't think that there was still that segment of society. I thought Sizzler did actually play that role for a period of time, but has not held their position. And so I don't know, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there is a segment of society who's unaware that there's a better restaurant down the street that's the same
Outback.
price or cheaper.
Outback Steakhouse. Would if you had to really like stake your name, if we were going to have a like middle class fancy chain restaurant as our sponsor, who would it be?
I don't know.
Olive
I'm
Garden?
Are you asking me which one tastes the best or which
No,
one do I
which
identify with?
yeah, which one do you identify with? Which middle class fancy chain restaurant do you think, okay, if I had to identify with one, it would be this one. Everybody I think does identify with one.
I don't identify with one like, and I'm not trying to play a role. I don't. But if the one that I've been into more than any of the others, but it's been well over a decade or two, is Chili's.
Chili's. Okay. Boom. So
For whatever reason, in my youth through teenage years, we would go to Chili's periodically. So
okay.
that's one that I would know a little bit about.
I have become in my ballet journey an Applebee's man. There's an
You told me that at one
yeah,
point.
there's an Applebee's really close to the studio, and Applebee's I can count on for if I want to catch a the sports game on
Yeah.
TV, then yeah, like I've dipped out. I don't do it as much, but for a good period there, here comes Chaz. Like I would,
They
all the
knew
bartenders,
you?
oh, for sure. All the bartenders knew me. They would set me up with my drink. I didn't have to order it. Like it was, I mean, I was eating good in the neighborhood. I was a full Applebee's local.
My only aversion is I worked in restaurants and I know too much about what goes on. And so in those chain restaurants, everything is microwaved.
Yeah.
Everything comes in a pre-portioned baggie, vacuum sealed baggie that they literally, whether it's a steak or mashed potatoes or whatever it is, it's like throw it in the microwave for 30 sec or however long it is, open the baggie, plop it on a plate, and it goes out to the. So eating that way, I don't even own a microwave in my house.
Yeah.
Like eating that way is the problem for me. It's not to do with a stigma associated with the restaurant necessarily, but my best friend through high school or through a lot of my life, his wife worked at Outback Steakhouse when we were like in our early 20s. And so we did go there and we had the idea it would be fun if we rode the bus. We were like, I haven't been on a public bus in a very, very long time. Let's take a public bus to your wife's restaurant because she can give us free drinks and that'll be our Friday night. And
Boom.
we did it. And I still remember that experience to this day. It was
Was it fun?
wild.
Yeah.
The people you see on a public bus, let me tell you, it's interesting.
I mean, bus in like how Southern California, like did not figure out real quick that buses are not going to be the answer here. We need like a light rail system that really cooks along, right? Like
Yeah.
we need to look at New York and get a way better version of the subway. No, LA, greater LA, Orange County thought buses, man, we're going to build streets. We're going to have buses drive on them and it's going to take you forever to get anywhere.
Yeah. And you might catch a disease, you might get mugged.
Yep.
There's a weird accordion thing in the middle because the bus is too big to fit around the streets. It's bizarre. But at any rate, I don't know how we ended up on that bent. VayerWatches.com, weekendvans.com. And we should go to commercial break as well. And then we will be back, of course, with Barrel or Not.